Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to say Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Waha, Rakak Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone who rule and teach well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. It's a younger brother here, Shema Shawan, with another video, Lord willing, it'll be edifying. And today I would like to get into a little bit of Daniel's 11. The point I really want to get into is the 10th and 11th verse, which goes into around the 4th Syrian War and goes into the Battle of Raphia. But before I do that, I have to set a precedent first so that you understand certain things about what's going on here in Daniel's 11th chapter. It can seem a little bit overwhelming at first, but if you take it bit by bit and piece by piece, and the Spirit's working with you first and foremost, if it's the Lord's will that you understand, you have no problem being able to understand and break down Daniel's 11th chapter. It's just a lot of information here, Daniel's chapter 11 verse 3. This is the point. And a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great and a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. A mighty king, that's being talked about here is Alexander the Freak or Alexander the Greek. If you want more information, read 1 Maccabees, the 1st chapter. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the four winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside those. Okay, so what this is going into, once again, 1 Maccabees, the 1st chapter, go read that. The four winds of heaven is Alexander's four generals, Cassander, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, and Seleucus, also known as the Diadachi or the successors. Now, I actually pulled up here the little thing on the blue letter. Let's see here. I'll read here the New International Version. After he has risen, his empire will be broken up and parceled out toward the four winds of heaven. His four successors, it will not go to his descendants. Alright, so that's what it means by his posterity. So, just for edification's sake, I didn't really check it out. Posterity, length, future, remnant, residue, reward. I'm looking at it here on the King James, but just for edification's sake, give me a second here. But they say descendants, but we'll check it out for ourselves, just to see if these things be true. Posterity, okay, so it seems like something that comes after you, so like your future. Let's actually look at what posterity means. All future generations of people, the descendants of a person, so that's what I was going into. Just want to check those things out anyway. I kind of had a feeling that that's what it was going into, but Alexander's children that he had, which you can go look into it more for yourself. He had a legitimate son, I think Alexander the Fourth. Apparently both of them, I think he had another son that was like illegitimate or something. I've looked at it in these commentaries, but they got murdered, so the kingdom, Alexander's kingdom didn't go down to his lineal son, and there's certain assassination plots. I'm not going to really go too much into it. It's something that you can look into for yourself, and honestly I want to look more into it as well. Okay, nor according to his dominion which he ruled, in the International Version, nor will I have the power he exercised, because he just had that kind of like control over his military, man. Like these people, they wanted to they were part of it because of Alexander, man. He got a lot of fame. Once again, 1 Maccabees, the 1st chapter. So the empire didn't have that same kind of cohesion that I had before, because now you got to split up between all these different generals, because his empire will be uprooted and given to others. So exactly, his empire was uprooted and it was given to others, given to his generals. So you got all these different generals, they're all vying for power, which is really more than just the four. You had other ones as well, and you could look into it for yourself, man. Verse 5, and the king of the south shall be strong, talking about Ptolemy the first solution. Ptolemy the first. Actually, I'll read it first. And the king of the south shall be strong. One of his princes, he shall be strong above him and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. So, and the king of the south shall be strong. Alright, so the king of the south here is Ptolemy the first Soter, and one of his princes is Seleucus the first Nicator. Which, when you look up Nicator, which sort of means savior, which they're not fucking saviors, but Nicator means victor. Okay, so that's what it means. And basically, let's see here. I'm certain I read it somewhere that he was actually okay. Alexander, Egypt. Okay. Yeah. Here you go. You see, admiral under Ptolemy. After rising in Egypt, blah blah blah. So yeah, I'm not gonna read all this, but yeah, I've seen it here. Admiral under Ptolemy. So Seleucus Nicator was an admiral serving under Ptolemy. You know, you can look more into it. As I said, I do want to do a full-on breakdown of this sometime in the near future. But when you look into the rest, right? Right, and there you go. The king of the south, this is NIV. The king of the south will become strong, but one of his commanders will become even stronger than he and will rule his own kingdom with great power. Because you see Seleucus, right? Seleucus Nicator. When you look into it, let's go pull that up again. He was putting in work, man. You know, he was definitely putting in work. So this is the point I wanted to get into. Seleucus's, this is Wikipedia, by the way, right? Seleucus' victory against Antigonus and Lysimachus left the Seleucid dynasty virtually unopposed among the Diadochi. However, Seleucus was hoped to take control of Lysimachus's European territories, primarily Thrace and Macedon itself, but upon arriving in Thrace in 281 BC, Seleucus was assassinated by Ptolemy Ceranis, who had taken refuge at the Seleucid court with his sister Lysandra. The assassination of Seleucus destroyed Seleucid prospects in Thrace and Macedon and paved the way for Ptolemy Ceranis to absorb much of Lysimachus's former power of Macedon. Seleucus was succeeded by his son Antiochus the first, ruler of the Seleucid Empire, and that's pretty much the point I wanted. You look into this guy, Seleucus, Ptolemy Ceranis. He was the older brother of Ptolemy II Philadelphus, which, if I'm correct, well, Ceranis means lightning, right? Or let me see here what Ceranis means again. Thunderbolt, my bad. Referring to his impatient or impetuous and destructive character. So that's what Ceranis means. But he was the older brother of Ptolemy II Philadelphus, which you can read about him in like the 6th verse of Daniel's 11. But Philadelphus means, what does Philadelphus mean? Philadelphus, oh, sibling lover. So that's what it means. Ptolemy sibling lover. You know, you read certain things about these guys, man. They did marry their sisters, you know, and it's kind of nasty, man. That's fucking. You're not supposed to do that, alright? You know, but Esau gonna do what Esau gonna do, man. You know, you look into it for yourself, man. But skipping down, now it's pretty much the point. So a lot of this, when you read Daniel's 11, is talking about, you know, the king of the north, Seleucid, the king of the south, going into the Ptolemies in varying battles, right? So that's pretty much what I read to read about that. Actually, no. I forgot one more thing here. There was something here that was really some you know, preem information I found, right? So where was it? King of Macedon. Okay. Something, it was like court court intrigue. There we go. Ptolemy II Ceranis, we'll just read all of it, was a member of the Ptolemaic dynasty and briefly king of Macedon. As the son of Ptolemy I Soter, he was originally heir to the throne of Ptolemaic Egypt, but he was displaced in favor of his younger brother Ptolemy II Philadelphus. He fled to King Lysimachus of Thrace and Macedon, where he was involved in court intrigue, which means like betrayal and shit like that. That led to the fall of that kingdom in 281 BC to Seleucus I. Alright, so that's how Seleucus he got more territory, right? Whom he then assassinated. He then seized the throne of Macedon, which he ruled for 17 months before his death in battle against the Gauls in early 279 BC. His epithet, Ceranis, is Greek for thunderbolt and refers to his impatient blah blah blah. I already read that. So that's basically it, right? And moving on. The ancient the Latin verse 2. The sun shall be stirred up and shall assemble a multitude of great forces. And one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through, then shall he return and be stirred up even to his fortress. And I did this, I watched a video by brother Bakar Moff, and I did a little bit of research to add on to what he said. You know, so basically, sun shall be stirred up, which it also comes from the brothers, of course, GMS FAQ, right? Sun shall be stirred up is Seleucus the Third. Seleucus the Third was what was his name, man? Seleucus the Third, Ceranis, which is the same word, right? Thunderbolt, right? Took me a fair bit of time to write all this, so that's why I'm like kind of like scrambling to like remember it, because I'm like, you know what I mean? It happens. Yeah, Thunderbolt. That's like his nickname. Okay, so they were stirred up because they wanted to regain their territory from the Ptolemies. So talking about how they should assemble a multitude of great forces. Seleucus III was assassinated, and Antiochus III, later called the Great, would continue on to build a great army. A great force of one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through, even and shall pass through, and then shall return and be stirred up even to his fortress. So which is going into his his fortress. Antiochus III was ready to take more territory from Ptolemy IV, which was certainly come and overflow and pass through. That's going to the Fourth Syrian War, right? Antiochus III retook Seleucia, Piana, as well as cities in Phoenicia, among them Tyre, from Ptolemy IV Philopator. So that's pretty much what it's going into. The last part, even to his fortress, is going to Antiochus III was ready to take more territory from Ptolemy IV Philopator. But the way I kind of fucked it up a little bit. I'm gonna fix that. Whoops. That one should go at the bottom. I kind of fucked it. This one, we gonna drop that to the bottom, and then delete that, and then I'll fix it, and it'll be easier for me to read on the highways and byways. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, now that's preem. Okay, very good. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler, shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. He shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. And this is the point for this video, right? The king of the south fears Ptolemy IV Philopator, shall come forth and fight with them, even with the king of the north. In the Fourth Syrian War again, he shall set forth a great multitude. Alright, now when I read different translations, I heard the brother Bakar Moff saying this set forth a great multitude to apply to Ptolemy IV Philopator. However, considering there's that kind of colon there, and I think you call it a colon, it seems like it's pertaining to the king of the north. And I looked at other translations, right? And they also attribute that great army there to the king of the north, right? Then the king of the south moved the rage. This is the English Standard Version. Then the king of the south moved the rage, and shall come out fight against the king of the north. He shall raise a great multitude, but it shall be given to his hand. And what that's going into, when you read it, right, is that Ptolemy IV Philopator won after defeating Antiochus III at the Battle of Raphia. So Antiochus III had a great army, but he still lost to Ptolemy IV. Of course, it wasn't like Ptolemy IV was an underdog. Ptolemy IV had a great army as well. But at the end of the day, Antiochus III was no match. Let's get another translation for you. Here we go. NLT, then in a rage, the king of the south will rally against the vast forces assembled by the king of the north and will defeat them. Alright, so this took came to pass with the most deciding battle of the Fourth Syrian War, which, as I said, Ptolemy the Fourth Philopator won. Right, Slovakia. Which this is all prophecy, man. This is all before this came to pass, right? But this is what went down, man. This prophecy, and we're gonna get a quick source. This is gonna be a bit long, so once again, there's no big booty bitches here. So if you're looking for some big booty hoes, you're not gonna find it here. Also, if you are looking for that shit, you're a fucking idiot. Because I mean, I'm not talking about a brother that's trying to figure things out. He really is sincere, but then he makes mistakes, or he finds himself acting simple. That's different. I'm talking about you guys that are already in the know and you doing dumb shit like that. You know today's is the it's new moon today. You know today's the new moon. Yesterday was a Sabbath, right? You ain't gonna do that shit. You got something wrong with you, man. You know you're pretty fucking dumb, man. You know. The Battle of Raphia was a deciding battle of the Fourth Syrian War and was one of the largest battles. Oh, forgot about the source. Historyofwar.org. The Battle of Raphia was a deciding battle of the Fourth Syrian War. It was one of the largest battles of the Hellenistic period, involving between 120,000 and 150,000 men. For 2 years, Antiochus III had been campaigning in Coilus, Syria, which you say is like southern Syria, north of Israel, right? Concentrating on capturing the numerous Egyptian strongholds in the area. While he was doing that, Ptolemy IV's advisor Eusebius concentrated on creating an army capable of opposing the Seleucid forces. So that goes and plays back into what we read, right? The king of the south being moved, of course. He got pissed, man. Ptolemy IV Philopator got pissed, and he told his advisors, and he listened to his advisors' words and got a big ass army ready, man. He got mad. The size and composition of this army is subject to some debate. Polybius gives Ptolemy 70,000 infantry, 5,000 cavalry, and 73 elephants. This figure is now generally accepted, although it is also possible to interpret Polybius's detailed figure as giving Ptolemy only 50,000 infantry. Much of this army was a traditional Hellenistic mix of mercenaries, Greek settlers, light troops, Gauls, and Thracians. So you had different people here, man. Hellenistic, and you got people from all over following Greek culture, man. However, to boost the size of his army, Eusebius recruited 20,000 native Egyptians. So it's going to Hamites, man, actual fucking Hamites, and trained them to fight as heavy troops, probably in the phalanx. Antiochus is reported. Actually, I'll read this part too. Polybius felt that this was a mistake. To train these native Egyptians was a mistake, and linked to the success of a revolt in Upper Egypt to the recruitment and training of Egyptian troops for raphia. Okay, Antiochus reporting as having 62,000 infantry, 6,000 cavalry, and 102 Indian elephants. So the Indian elephant part, you got to go into the Seleucid-Mauryan War between Seleucus Nicator, I think his name is Chandragupta, and you get the understanding about the negotiations that came into the end of that war, to figure out how they started to get those war elephants. Nicator had access to them. Skipping down a little bit, the battle began on the wings. Antiochus led his cavalry in a successful charge that forced Ptolemy's left wing off the battlefield. On the other wing, the Egyptians had the best of the early fighting. Alright, so Antiochus, he led a good, charge, a successful charge on Ptolemy's left wing. And on the other wing, the Egyptians had the best of the early fighting. Okay, so one side, Antiochus's charge is winning. On the other side, the Egyptians are having their fighting, and they're getting their best. They're beating back Antiochus's troops. Here, Ptolemy proved himself to be the better general. Like many young cavalry commanders, Antiochus was carried away by the success of his cavalry charge and engaged in a lengthy pursuit. I thought of a precept while I was reading this before. It's kind of funny, right? He pretty much he chased him, right? But we're gonna get a precept. I'm gonna line it up. You should already know what I'm thinking of, right? Um, let's see here. Um, here we go. There we go. So yeah, they go back into this, right? Just give me a second. I'm gonna read it again. Here Ptolemy proved himself to be the better commander, to be the better general. Like many young cavalry commanders, Antiochus was carried away by the success of his early cavalry charge and engaged in a lengthy pursuit. So he started chasing you know, the fleeing Egyptians, man. In contrast, Ptolemy extracted himself from the wreck of his left wing and made his way to the phalanx in the center. Okay. Um, we're actually going to read this part too. The phalanx battle had not yet begun. Now, with their king at their head, the Egyptian phalanx advanced into combat. Whatever size Ptolemy's armies was, his phalanx outnumbered the Seleucid force, and it would appear to have been better trained. After the sharp engagement, the Seleucid phalanx broke and fled back towards Raphia. Antiochus was still with his cavalry and only realized the battle was lost when the dust of the battle began to move toward his camp. So while he was chasing the fleeing Egyptians, his troops were in his center getting beat the fuck up. Alright, so quick precept real quick that kind of made me laugh when I was looking into it, because it is kind of funny. Proverbs chapter 16 verse 18, pride goeth before destruction, and haughty spirit before a fall. So hey man, this guy Antiochus the Third the Great, man, he was haughty, man. You know, he had that pride, and it fucked him up in the end, man. But that's all about Esau, man. That's all. Esau has that pride, man. You know, he thinks that he's the Most High, you know, on another level, right? When you look at varying scriptures, Ezekiel 28, Second Thessalonians, and other precepts, man, all over the place. That's what he does, Obadiah, right? You know, he's just like that, man. And this is all wickedness. They're all wicked, man. Ptolemy's wicked. He's an Edomite. Antiochus the Third is wicked. He's an Edomite. To wrap this up, and then we're gonna close off because this doesn't really need to be that long. According to Polybius, Antiochus lost 10,000 infantry and 300 cavalry killed and 4,000 men captured, while Ptolemy lost only 1,500 infantry but only 700 cavalry, reflecting his victory in the center. While Ptolemy lost only 1,500 cavalry, it's like it. Ptolemy lost only 1,500 infantry but 700 cavalry, reflecting his victory in the center but defeat on the flanks. Alright, those figures are not realistic. The majority of losses during the phalanx battle occurred after one side had broken and was fleeing the field. Okay, so that's what happened. Antiochus lost the majority, more troops. He lost 10,000 troops, you know, 10,000 infantry, while Ptolemy lost only 1,500 infantry. So very, very bad loss. In the aftermath of the battle, Antiochus returned to Antioch with his remaining troops. Once there, he opened negotiations for a year-long truce to which Ptolemy agreed. The eventual peace acknowledged Seleucid control of the port of Antioch, Seleucia Imperia, while Ptolemy regained all of Coilus Syria. After spending 4 months restoring order in that area, Ptolemy returned to Egypt, while Antiochus turned his attention to dealing with the rebellion in Asia Minor. Alright, that's all I want to get into. I will come back to this, alright, and give you a more in-depth breakdown of Daniel's 11. But this was in-depth breakdown. But I'm gonna go into like a little bit of scriptures for each one. Like maybe one part will be like Daniel's 11 and 1, and maybe to like 5, right? And then the next one will be like from like 6 to like 9 or something, and then from 10 onwards, and maybe sometimes it may go a little bit longer, and I'll just move in the spirit. But a lot of history here, and this is a goal of mine to be able to memorize this and know it offhand. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Lowell, you edify. Shalom.